It is time to make big changes on the reform that we can't do without, but one that we're afraid of. What do we want from the government? What do we want from life? A comfortable life, the possibility to have children, a quality education for our children, opportunities to earn money, a safe environment. The more capable government is, the smarter the administration is, and the better they serve our needs. Is there a recipe for effective governance? Yes. Any effective government rests on three pillars: authority, resources, accountability. An optimal distribution of powers between levels of government is required. The amount of resources should equitably match those powers. The government should be accountable to the people for its performance, and to the state for its authority. Only if there is a balance of powers, resources, and responsibilities can we achieve effective governance. If something is missing among those three, then we don't get any result. So what kind of governmental system do we have in Ukraine? First, we still have a centralized Soviet governance model. This system was relatively efficient in terms of a single-party system and predominance of government-owned property. At present, the share of government property in Ukraine is only 5%, and no political party has a monopoly on power. Yet, the management system has not changed. Second, we have a confusing and fragmented administrative territorial structure. For example, take the Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast regions. Two rural rayons or districts are part of the city councils. They do not belong to the rayon council or rayon state administration, and in legal terms, the competence of each village council within these rayons is the same as the competence of the city council of which they are part. Can anybody comprehend this? Who has the power, who has the resources here, and who has responsibility? Third, we have an irrational and ambiguous distribution of powers between authorities with respect to their administrative territorial structure, which generates a vertical conflict between the powers of local governments and a horizontal conflict between the powers of local authorities and executive bodies. It is nice fishing in troubled waters, isn't it? Fourth, budget allocation is practically done manually, which leads to opaque and unstable financing. In addition, 95% of territorial communities receive government subsidies, and 70% of rural communities are deeply subsidized. Their own funds are not enough even to pay salaries to local council employees. This leads to a vicious circle. A constant shortage of money makes it impossible to execute authority. This becomes the basis for transferring powers to the executive branch. Leads to the loss of public confidence in local government and authority in general, and further reduces the financial capacity of local governments. Ineffective local government means the decline of the local economy, increased demographic decline, and degradation of the country. Fifth, local authorities are not held accountable to their electorate. Therefore, the connection between government and the people is lost. When there is no connection, there is no understanding. No understanding, no interaction. No interaction, no efficiency. Thus we have an ineffective, unaccountable, bulky and completely centralized power structure in Ukraine. Therefore, it is imperative that we urgently reform the government and public administration system of Ukraine, deeply, systematically, and logically. The new system of government has to be based on adequate powers, sufficient resources, and accountability before the electorate and the state. For such a reform to take place, it is necessary to make 5 logical sequential steps. Determine the territorial basis of local authorities and executive bodies. Distinguish between the powers of local authorities at various levels of administrative territorial division or structure. Distinguish between the powers of local authorities and executive bodies. Determine the necessary amount of resources for each level of government authorities. Make local authorities accountable to voters and the state.